Welcome to Proteal's production channel. Do you want to subscribe to my channel before traveling the climax of knowledge again today? Don't forget to click on the bell. Welcome dude, let's start. The coronavirus outbreak, which originated in China, has infected more than 1.5 million people. Its spread has left businesses around the world counting costs. Investors fear the spread of the coronavirus will destroy economic growth and that government action may not be enough to stop the decline. In response, central banks in many countries, including the United Kingdom, have slashed interest rates that should, in theory, make borrowing cheaper and encourage spending to boost the economy. Global markets did also recover some ground after the U.S. Senate passed a $2 trillion coronavirus aid bill to help workers and businesses. But some analysts have warned that they could be volatile until the pandemic is contained. In the United States, the number of people filing for unemployment hit a record high, signaling an end to a decade of expansion for one of the world's largest economies. The travel industry has been badly damaged. Philia tuned summarized likely effects of COVID-19 on global tourism early in March. Guaranteeing restrictions, fear of airports and other places of mass gathering, fears of illness abroad, issues with cross-border medical insurance, tourism enterprise bankruptcies, tourism industry unemployment, airfare cost increases, damage to the image of the cruise industry. For example, Diamond Princess Cruise, everyone's infected. An unforgettable stain over the years. Data from the flight tracking service Flight Radar 24 shows that the number of flights globally has taken a huge hit. Countries and world capital have been put under strict lockdown, bringing a total halt to major industrial production chains. Some economists suggest that China's economy may contract for the first time since the 1970s. Chinese car sales dropped by 86% in February. As the coronavirus spreads around the world, the stock markets have experienced their worst crash since 1987. Many countries with large economies, such as Italy and Spain, have enacted quarantine policies. This has led to the disruption of business activities in many economic sectors. When a crisis hits, investors often choose less risky investments. Gold is traditionally considered a safe haven for investment in times of uncertainty. But even the price of gold tumbled briefly in March, as investors were fearful about a global recession. Likewise, oil has slumped to prices not seen since June 2001. If the economy is growing, that generally means more wealth and more new jobs. Also, the increase in the salaries of the workers means the increase of welfare. However, the coronavirus will reverse this development curve of the world for a while. Geoeconomics and country risk experts have insisted on the potential erosion of political and economic sovereignty that may affect some already enfeebled countries like Italy. Edward Luttwak has called it the virus of truth. Nicholas Fursley, director of the World Pensions Council and advisory board member at the World Bank Global Infrastructure Facility, refers to it as the greater financial crisis that will bring to the surface pent-up financial and geopolitical dysfunctions. National economies will suffer as a result, and their political sovereignty itself may be severely eroded. It's measured by looking at the percentage change in gross domestic product, or the value of goods and services produced, typically over 3 months or a year. The United Nations Development Program expects a $220 billion United States dollars reduction in revenue in developing countries, and expects COVID-19's economic impact to last for months or even years. This means that developing with high-term borrowing, investment in countries such as Brazil and Turkey, shall be suspended for a while. These countries have to take measures by keeping the treasury balance against the risk of hyperinflation. Let's not forget that when America presses $1 trillion, it will increase, while 2% inflation will not harm anyone. Producing unrequited money in developing countries can lead to inevitable collapses. In January and February 2020, during the height of the epidemic in Wuhan, about 5 million people in China lost their jobs. Many of China's nearly 300 million rural migrant workers have been stranded at home in inland provinces or trapped in Hubei province. As other countries are at the very beginning of the epidemic, it is difficult to give numbers, but it is stated that 50 million people in the world can remain unemployed. For example, the lockdown in India has left tens of millions of migrant workers unemployed. The survey from the Angus Reid Institute found that 44% of Canadian households have experienced some type of job loss. Nearly 900,000 workers lost their jobs in Spain since it went into lockdown in mid-March 2020, 133. During the second half of March, 4 million French workers applied for temporary unemployment benefits and 1 million British workers applied for a universal credit scheme. Almost 500,000 companies in Germany have sent their workers on a government-subsidized short-time working schemes known as Kurzarbeit. The German short-time work compensation scheme has been copied by France and Britain. On the 24th of March 2020, German financial analyst Walter Kohl warned that besides the medical and economic crises that followed from the pandemic, it was likely to also lead to a currency crisis in the Eurozone. Italy and Spain, the two EU countries most affected by the disease, still have not fully recovered from the European debt crisis of 2009, and might need support to avoid national bankruptcy. States do not allow any company that works for bankruptcy. In short, even if large companies are in a difficult situation, they will be saved by the states. For example, when a phone called Note 7, which Samsung removed, exploded with a battery problem, the company collected millions of phones. He suffered loss and prestige of $1 billion. However, he survived this situation with only 6% loss of balance sheet. Moreover, he even sold old phones. The company, which is not about to go bankrupt anyway, will easily be saved. Otherwise, those who rule capitalism will suffer the most. Loan options and deferral and debts will be structured for medium-sized businesses. Unemployment will be the biggest problem in this process. While many businesses return to their jobs with a much more intense tempo after the virus, the tourism sector will receive permanent damage. Emergency action plans are required as countries for the unemployed in this process. Millions of unemployed people can cause a social outrage. So everyone should think about their loved ones. The virus was nobody's fault. Many aid campaigns around the world have already started. But we are sure that there are names that you all think will probably be in a difficult situation. You can be the boss of your own campaign and have access to social peace. No social institution knows your environment better than you. Remember, as humanity, we will overcome these difficult days. You will see, we will succeed. Heed the following words of the famous Turkish folk poet. They forged a piece of iron with another piece of iron, one was hot and the other was cold. They massacred a people with another people, one were destitute and the other were affluent. My next video is dental caries and all the unknowns. Can dental caries be stopped? Stay on track. The sources of all the information said in this video are given in the description section. Please comment to make corrections or additions. If you still have not subscribed, you can subscribe and like the video. Take care yourself. Ciao ciao.